You know, being up here is an honor, and I'm very proud to have received it. Andy and Catherine getting married is really great, but it also has its downside. Two really good friends will be moving far away. Everyone who knows me knows that Catherine is a good friend of mine, and apparently Savina too. We're both partners in crime with Catherine, but mine started a little earlier. It was around the age of 2 when Catherine was 4 or 5, and we were in the family room playing, and all of a sudden Catherine decided it was time to work on her golf swing. And then right when she got to her backswing, she hit the fish tank, and she handed me the club. So, just when my mom turned around, she got to see the glass shatter and the water fall onto the floor, and there I was, a confused look on my face, not knowing what had happened. They blamed me, and I said it wasn't me, but no one believed me, and I was only 2. From then on, they called me Dennis the Menace. The next thing that we like to do is pretend we were orphans, you see. Every time we'd go to my grandma's house, she had these cool walkie-talkies, so we would use them to talk from room to room, pretending that we couldn't talk because we were in an evil orphanage. And then over the walkie-talkies, we'd converse with one another and figure out how to reunite. In this game, my grandma was simply a nice woman who often offered us food. Perhaps the most interesting game we played involved the show The Jetsons. Now, I don't know how many of you have seen it, but on the show, George and Judy have a machine which puts their clothes on. And it's a really cool idea, but whenever we played, I came out of the machine and Catherine would inform me that it must have malfunctioned because I had on ladies' clothes. So, Andy, I'm sad that you missed those fun games, but I'm really glad you came along because you're the right guy for my sister. I know this because I tested him. Step 1. I had to see that he could handle me being crazy. And he had never talked to me before, and all he ever heard was a story about a gentleman who angered my sister, and I let him know I wasn't pleased about it. And so, while Catherine was talking to him nicely on the phone, I took it away from her and I said, "You better watch out." He couldn't have known at the time that, as he says, Schmidt's freedom, small by small, so he was a little worried. And the next step, because he had accomplished step 1, was to see if he was willing to work to impress the family. And that happened one of the first times he ever came over to the house. You see, we were all in the kitchen. My dad and me were we were by the counter trying to cut open a coconut. And we didn't know how to do it, so I was smashing it against the counter. And then we got a knife and started cutting it. And during this time, Catherine had wandered upstairs, so she wasn't around anymore. And we finally broke it open, and we poured a little juice in a cup, and I tried some. I'll never drink it again. And I obviously refused to try the fruit, but my dad had to get someone to try the fruit, because you don't waste coconut. So anyway, he looked at Andy, and he said, "Andy, you're going to eat this, right? You're not scared to eat this." And Andy had to impress him, so he did. I'm pretty sure that's one of the worst things you ever tasted, isn't it, Andy? But he had passed the test. Now we had to move to step 3. We had to know if he would be there for friends and family of Catherine, even when she wasn't around. And this came along when I was going to go to my first high school dance. And I needed a suit. And at the time, I didn't have a fancy bone in my body. But I always saw Andy strutting around with these impressive black leather Italian loafers. So I knew if I was going to get something sharp, he was going to help me get it. He didn't help me get 1 suit, he helped me get 2. When that happened, I was always wearing t-shirts with holes in it. And look at me now, I roll out of bed in tuxedos. He had passed the test. But now it was time for the most important, step 4. I had to find out if he'd defend the girl. So I love football, and my friends like football, and we were outside playing one day, and Andy decided it'd be fun to join us. Now, I like the kid, but I don't know if you've ever seen him run. It's a little bit like watching a flamingo try to sprint. So anyway, there he was running along, making a couple plays, a couple errors, and then my friend leaned over and whispered something about Catherine. I swear I've never seen the boy so angry. There was a fire in his eyes, and it translated onto his play in the field. He scored some touchdowns, and now whenever we talk about football, he brings that day up. And he says, I played hard, right? Lots of touchdowns, I did good. And I must admit, he really did. He impressed me. So, he completed all of my demands. He could handle a family that was weird. He could rise to challenges. He would help when he could. And he would defend his lady's honor. Andy, the next step that I have to do is remind you of her demands. She needs orange juice for drinking, baked potatoes with cheddar cheese, potatoes, and sour cream for num-nums. She needs blankets for cuddles and bears for play. And I don't know if you remember, but a couple days ago we were laying downstairs and I was in my bed sleeping and Catherine was on my couch sleeping. She had to work on wedding plans and I had to study for exams so I could get to the man party, of course. And he said, get up, Schmidt family. And Catherine looked at him and she said, and I have to agree with her, you are now in Schmidt family, Andy. We got you good. And with that, I'll turn it over to Reverend Carl Travis.